everybody, I'm Maritza Barone, and this is the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. Has there ever been a moment in your life where you heard or read or were told something that you simply could not unhear? Something that caused you to make positive changes so that you could become the best version of yourself? Well, we share this show with access to inspiring and empowering humans who will motivate you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate you. Sit back, settle in, and let this be the day you hear something that simply cannot be unheard. Hello and welcome back to Things You Can't Unhear. Maritza here. Today we welcome Claire Besley to the show for the second time. She has joined us on this podcast before, and her episode happened to be one of the most downloaded ever on the show. Claire is the CEO and founder of Inspirited Solutions, where she and her team teach and facilitate self-directed healing, helping people to let go of self-sabotaging beliefs, reoccurring patterns, and blocks. Today, we talk specifically about what it means to be able to dive deeply into your past trauma to heal yourself and move forward in life finally, and how healing can assist our personal relationships and make them better than ever before. Claire has recently released a new series of quick and impactful videos on her YouTube channel, Clarity with Claire, which will help you to dive even more deeper into these topics and ease the suffering in our lives to gain more clarity and compassion. So I hope you enjoyed this episode with Claire. And just a quick note before we jump over to Claire, I love sharing inspirational voices on this show and also on the many podcasts that I help to produce. So if you feel as though you have something important to say and don't know where to start to bring that to life, reach out to me to chat. I can help you to bring your voice to life, from finding your confidence, learning how to craft your message, and even finally launching season 1 of your very own podcast. I share my voice so that you can share yours. Welcome back to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast, Claire Besley.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here yet again. I loved the last one, and everyone that listened to it really got a lot out of it. So I'm really glad that we're doing this together today.
Me too. Look, your episode, which appeared early on when we launched the podcast 4 years ago, was one of the most listened to episodes. So much so that I actually relaunched it a year ago and had the same response from everyone listening. And I think a lot of it had to do with, number one, that you're an amazing speaker and healer and have this incredible, modality that people can learn from. But I think the key to why people were so hooked to click play in the first place were the words that, we used was self-healing. And the idea of being able to heal ourselves is so liberating for many people, because healing is not just a one-stop shop. You don't just go and see someone once and then you're healed. It's something that needs to happen over a long period of time. And if you can find the tools within yourself to be able to heal, then you are going to be so much better off for it. So I really, truly think that that's why people aligned with that conversation we had so much, and of course what you do. So what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on self-healing and giving yourself the power to do that?
Yeah, look, I think we live in interesting times. And I think going through COVID and going through so much that everybody's been through, people are really a lot more becoming a lot more invested in themselves and in their own healing than they ever have before. So I think that this conversation and this message is more important than it's ever been before. I also think throughout my experience, I hear so many people say to me, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on therapy. I've tried so many things, but none of it's really stuck. And I think that is a lot of people's experience, because this journey to self, has been building a lot over the last sort of 15, 20 years. But I think people are really ready for more now. And I think they're ready for something more powerful. And I think there's also an awareness in society that if you become too dependent on searching outside of yourself for the answers and for the healing, that's part of the reason it doesn't sustain. Because really, in order to heal, you have to grow. And in order to grow, you do have to learn. You have to take those learnings and you have to be able to implement them yourself. So if you're constantly having other people do the work for you, there's a limitation in your ability to grow in that space.
Definitely. Healing is a big thing. No. So when we go back to the beginning and we think about healing and why so many people need healing, where does it stem from? What do we need to be looking at? And do we need to constantly heal from everything? What happens if we don't heal from things that have happened in our past?
Yeah, look, I think it's a great question. I have certainly experienced a lot of people in my life that haven't gone on that journey. And also, a lot of us, I would say, for our parents, looking at our parents, typically, they weren't around, when we started this process. They're unaware of it. So I think if you want to really understand what happens when you don't heal, you can probably directly look at your family members, look at your parents, look at the people that lived in a survival mode for the majority of their lives and look what's happened to them. Are they able to have fulfilling, sustaining, beautiful relationships? Have they found joy and passion in their career and taken it to the world? Have they repressed their emotions and become addicted or become ill too earlier than they needed to? Have they suffered unnecessarily? And then the question you can ask yourself is, am I suffering and do I need to be? Are my relationships aligned with who I am, with my values? So I think that the answer to the question is, if you don't go on a healing journey of inner introspection, the big risk is that you don't live the happiest life you could, or achieve your potential. And, I think we are now in a world where that has become attainable and reachable. Perhaps in our parents' generation, it wasn't. It wasn't even realistic to go for those goals. But now we're an empowered generation in society and we are aware and we want that. And we need that now, and we need it to demonstrate it to our children as well. So becoming the best version of ourselves, I think now has become a necessary thing rather than a nice to have or something that you can think about as an option.
100%. I think in a lot of people's minds, healing is a long, painful journey of self-discovery and pain and dipping into all of that past trauma. And I think a lot of people tend to shy away from doing it because they know how much it's going to hurt. And it's probably easier to just go,
yeah, look, that it's really common. There's a lot of resistance to it. And I understand that because the thought of it can be overwhelming. And I remember having a conversation with someone recently, I think they're around sort of 45, and they said, what if I don't do it now? I don't think I'm ready to do it. And I said, well, that's fine. You can wait and you can do it when you're 65 or 70. But that's, years of your life that you have not lived your best life and put off. So ask your 70-year-old self, would they prefer you to do it now or wait till later? There's always going to be an element of discomfort. There's always going to be moments of, oh my gosh, how have I done this to myself? There's going to be reflecting on pain, on past pain. But I think the important message that people need to understand is when you actually choose to go on that journey, there's different ways of going about it, but self-directed healing, which is what we specialize in, our attitude is it is going to hurt, it is going to be painful, but it's going to be fast. It doesn't need to take a long time. The part of the reason it doesn't need to take a long time is because we've been doing this a while now. New modalities are being developed all the time that enable that process to be a lot quicker than it needs to be. So whilst you're always going to be healing is an ongoing journey, resolving. It's more a process of learning to know yourself, understand yourself, and learn how to process your emotions and your thoughts so that they are not as painful. So even in my own experience, what I've learned is, I have hard days. I have days where I have emotional turmoil, but the difference is that I know how to move through those and I know they'll end. And so they don't scare me because I have a process and a tool to take me through them. So I don't want people to have an unrealistic expectation that you do healing and your life's just blissful every single day. That's not what healing is about. Healing is about giving you enough resolution in yourself to trust yourself and to know that you have the tools to move through those things when you come when they hit you, so you can come out the other side more peacefully. So I think overall what it gives you is a confidence in yourself, a deeper state of well-being that you might not otherwise have, that you can maintain even when things do get rough. And I think that's really what everybody wants. It's not that we all want to be living on cloud nine, happy every day. We want to be able to get through life's challenges reasonably peacefully, and when things come up, we know within ourselves completely mind, body, soul, that we can process them and that we will be okay.
I totally love that. I once went and saw a therapist, and there was a whole plan on, 10 to 20 sessions of talking through and strategies. And I did it for the first couple. And then I just found it so intensely emotionally, physically, spiritually draining that I shied away from it, and I didn't go on and finish those 10 to 15, 20 sessions. But I feel like, when you say this modality that you have is fast, and
Yes.
it gets through to where it needs to be quickly, and it's not a long drawn out process, because the thought of me enduring past pain or whatever it is that I was revisiting at that time over that many sessions
Yeah.
really didn't appeal to me very much. So, I have experienced the self-healing that you do, and the type of modality that it is, and I've seen how fast that transition can occur within people. How do you do that
Yeah,
specifically?
look, it's really interesting. Obviously, I have about 450 practitioners now around the world that we've trained. And it's an interesting conversation I have with them as well about this, because sometimes they're scared of healing people because it brings up pain for them. But the beautiful thing is, when we assess it, when you're in a session, you're not actually in discomfort for more than, say, 15 minutes to half an hour maximum. So the actual processing of the emotion, it doesn't take long. And the reason for that is that you can't hold emotion at its heightened state in your body for a very long period of time. So if you try to get angry as you can, and you try to stay at your maximum level of anger, you will not be able to hold it for longer than a couple of minutes. The challenge is that when you go to a therapist or someone that doesn't understand how to get you to release it, they keep you at a 5 or a 6 out of 10 and get you to keep processing there. So it doesn't go to its maximum, it doesn't then fully release. So what we do is we realize we've got to have the courage as practitioners to sit with that client and take them into it as deeply as we possibly can, because that's what makes it fast. It's the holding back and just sitting in the emotion for a little while that doesn't shift it. You've got to, the way you metabolize food, you've got to eat it, you've got to digest every little bit of it. You can't leave half of it in there. So I think the reason that it's so fast is because the processing is so in depth. We don't miss anything. We get it all. And when you get it all, it leaves quickly. So really, we have clients that we say, just try one session. We will never book you in for 10 sessions up front, because you might only need 2 or 3. You might come and have one and feel so good that you don't need one for a little while. And definitely, even for myself, there's periods where I'll go months without having a healing session because I'm feeling good, or I'm letting things come up naturally and I'm enjoying the process of feeling those emotions, the anger, the sadness. There comes a time when those emotions no longer scare you and you actually enjoy them as part of the natural process of being human. They no longer intimidate you or create fear, because you realize the naturalness and the beauty in them. And I think if we can get everyone to a place where they actually start to enjoy having a little bit of anxiety here and there, anger to them is a sign of, if I feel this anger, I'm going to release some tears and I'm going to feel great afterwards. It's about changing our perception of emotion and how it impacts us. And I think that's really actually quite achievable.
I think over the last few years, what I've been really getting good at is noticing when I'm feeling a certain emotion, just such as the ones you mentioned, anger or anxiety, for example, and going, okay, I'm feeling this. Why am I feeling this? What
Yeah.
happened in the last couple of hours that may have triggered it? What's coming up that may be sparking this feeling? Who did I lash out on in the last couple of hours because I feel anxious about something that's coming up? So asking more questions about why I'm feeling a certain thing. Is that sort of how your modality works as well? Is
Yeah,
that in your
look,
toolkit?
I think it's the start of the process. So the first thing it's about is identifying I'm feeling something. Because we tend to live in our heads and analyze and go round and round and get distressed and confused. Whereas if you drop down into the body and actually start to ask yourself, what am I feeling, instead of what am I thinking, then you're connecting with your body, you're connecting with your subconscious, you're at least opening that door. So definitely, we teach people to do this. Becoming body conscious and emotionally conscious is an absolute integral part of the process. And I think in terms of asking the question why, for us in the process, that probably comes a little bit later. I think the feeling it is more important, because when you start to feel it and go into it, understanding will naturally come as you start to release it. So you're right. Like, I think you're right on track what you're saying. And another thing that I really, it's important for me to say this. I'm creating a new piece of work around relationships, and it's relevant to what we're saying now because a lot of people are talking about narcissism, and I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and I'm observing how people advise each other on what to do when relationships don't feel healthy. And the number one thing that I see people saying is leave. If you're being treated like this, leave. If they're doing this, leave. And it actually upsets me because I think relationships for me in the thousands of sessions that I've done are probably the greatest opportunity you have to heal yourself deeply and to also heal that relationship, because our relationships are the things that trigger us the most. And I can reflect on my life and see the times that I've been single and I've gone and I've done therapy and it's been great. I've done healing, but it's not until you enter a relationship that the true insecurities really come up in a deep, intimate way. And when this happens, our natural inclination is to fight or run away. But if we can start to learn that these are the most beautiful opportunities you're going to have in your life to deeply heal, then we can revolutionize ourselves and our relationships to start embracing those challenges as an opportunity to really step up in yourself, know yourself better, and have an even better relationship than the one you had 20 minutes ago before you were triggered.
Relationships are a big one. Obviously, we explore the relationships with ourselves, and you get to that point, and then exploring the relationships with others, which you said you're diving into quite deeply at the moment. And I have noticed some videos that have popped up, Clarity with Claire on your YouTube channel, and have loved them. They're short, sharp videos where you can really just get. You've got such a good way of delivering a message quickly with impact, and you sit there and you're listening to it and your head's nodding and you're like, yes, yes, yes. But you come up with some quite controversial phrases in these. You do, yeah. And even like, do narcissism, does that even exist? Or are you imagining it? Like that was one of your YouTube titles. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, look, I love the narcissism one. I think it's such a buzzword at the moment, and again, I just see people throwing it around, calling everyone a narcissist. And I think it's great from the perspective that we're starting to look at behavior, we're starting to label it and identify it. But I think what people need to understand is that a lot of these traits of narcissism we all have. If you look at the list, as I've said in one of those videos, we all hurt people sometimes. We all lash out. We all can be avoidant. We all have ghosted sometime in our life. These things that we're seeing in others that are upsetting us so much, obviously there's degrees of them, but quite often they're also a reflection of things that we might have done that we don't feel good about. And instead of really looking deeply at that and understanding that, we project onto the other person and demonize them rather than, again, using it as an opportunity for introspection, if that makes sense. And I suppose the other thing that I want to say about it is I don't want to live in a world where someone does the wrong thing by you and the result is just leave, walk away. I mean, we're going to just end up with everybody being single if we continue down this path of this attitude. The way I view the definition shallowly of a narcissist, I prefer to say that this person is unhealed and they're operating from a space of pain. Not many people really deeply from a soul level intend to hurt another person. It's that they've had things going in their life that they're incapable of managing and they're bleeding all over everyone around them. On the flip side of that, there's a part of us that might see something and react to it, and that person's doing the best they can, but because of our history and our trauma, it's triggering that in us. And instead of recognizing that and dealing with that, again, we're projecting it. So I feel like exploring the conversation around narcissism could lead to some really beautiful growth within people. And I just want to educate people that walking away and being dismissive and just labeling someone as a narcissist, it's not actually going to serve you, because potentially there's a whole lot of growth that you could experience out of that. And it doesn't mean you're not going to leave. You might, but at least give yourself the opportunity to heal within yourself first and make that decision from a place of knowing that it's right, feeling that rightness throughout your whole body and feeling good about it, rather than it coming from a place of fear. I'm not getting my needs met and I have to run. Because quite often when we heal within ourselves, and I see this daily with my clients, when you learn to heal yourself, let go of some of those triggers and patterns, quite often you'll view the relationship in a very different way. And when your attitude changes towards the relationship and when you start to see the good in it, that person reacts to your different energy. They heal and grow as a result. So imagine a relationship where both people have this attitude of let's grow together, let's see when we're triggered, let's work on it. That's when you're going to end up with the most beautiful relationship. Not when you just meet the love of your life, you have a romantic 3 months, and then a year down the track that you think they're a narcissist. That love feeling that you start with, that's what has to grow and bloom. But you've got to understand you can't get there without growth, because one of you is going to grow or one of you's not. You've got to do it together, commit to that together. And really, it's what's going to help you evolve as a person more quickly than just about any other experience you're going to have in your life.
I've heard you say something. There are two types of people in this world, and they are, I'll let you finish it.
There is only healed and unhealed.
Healed and unhealed. So there's not good, there's not bad.
That's right.
There's healed and unhealed. So what if you are with an unhealed person who has no interest in healing? I know you just talked about leading by example, and, leaving is not always the answer, but it will happen for many of us. You're with that person. They have no interest in healing. They are continuing on their pathway of being that narcissist that either exists or doesn't exist. What advice do you have around that? That might also be in addition to leading by behavior.
Look, I think it's a process. Like I said, obviously, if you're in a situation like that, it's good that you've identified it, that you know that you're not satisfied with it. I think the first thing you have to do before even thinking about the relationship is go and do the work on yourself. Is actually feeling it within you and seeing if that dynamic changes. I really would estimate that 80% of the time it would. I'm really putting like a high stat on this. And that's to encourage people and give them hope, because a lot of the time you do love that person and you don't want to leave, and so you want to honor that love that you feel for that other person by giving yourself and them the best chance. I've seen many relationships where the other person has no interest in healing consciously, but as a result of that person resolving themselves, it does heal. And that person may change as they see you heal and see you become happier and more able to manage the situation. There's been many times when husbands or partners have had no interest, they've seen a big shift and they're like, you know what? I think I'm ready for this now. So I think relationships are a journey. And I think we tend these days to look at them as something that's quite irreplaceable. Let's just move to the next, to the next, to the next. And what I see that happen a lot. Majority of people leave, go find someone else, and they end up in a very similar situation, because until you have resolved that in yourself, you're still going to attract the same thing over and over again. And we all know that. We've all seen that. How many times we said, I'm just attracting the same thing. I'm in the same position again. And I really want to give people hope about this. I want to let you know it's not that hard. You really can change this. It's tangible. It's real. I see it all the time. It really can be done. It's not unrealistic.
You're so true. I mean, you do see people in those doing those recurring patterns and getting out of one toxic relationship and straight into another, like replica of the exact same person with the exact same issues. And yeah, that is just a time waster, isn't it? It's just
that's right. And I can tell you, I've experimented, I guess, in my own personal life, because my whole life has been a study on healing. And so even in my own relationships, I've had times where I have deliberately stayed in something that I know this person's probably not right, but the growth that I'm getting, because so much insecurity and fear is coming up, I've said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to stick at this, because I know if I let this triggering go on and I process it, I'm going to heal so much that by the time I exit, I'm so ready and I'm so able to attract what I really want. So sometimes I do allow myself just that bit of space to grow, and I do indulge in it a little bit, because I know, you know what, if you're in front of this person, they're there for a reason. I think you're best off to get the learning before you leave, as long as obviously it's not harming you to any significant degree.
How would you say people get clear on what they want? Because a lot of people think they know what they want and they get it, and then that it wasn't actually what they wanted at all. And then again, they're in that reoccurring pattern. Is there a way through your work where you can really identify, your non-negotiables and what you're trying to attract into your life when it comes to relationships in particular?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I've got so much to say about this.
Oh, good.
But the first thing I want to say, and I've said this, and I've had this said to me in my recent relationship, he's like, maybe I'm not what you want, but I think I'm what you need, and I think we get those two things really confused. I think we have these dreams about what we think we want, but sometimes the universe actually does give us what we need, and it's about learning to recognize that. So that's a learning that I've had to go on that I really embrace now. And the more I embrace this is actually what I need to work through and grow, the happier I am and the more I heal and grow. The second thing is 100%. The more you learn to release yourself and heal, if it's with a one-on-one practitioner, whatever way you choose to do it, you tend to move from a state of, I don't want this, I don't want that. We actually talk more about what we don't want than what we do want. I know, people will write their list and they'll think about what they want and they'll meditate on it. But if you listen to yourself talk, most of the time, people are talking about, I don't like this, I don't like when they do that, I don't want that. As you heal and you start to, I suppose, heal the trauma bonding, heal the attachment, heal the fact that you might have been cheated on, heal your trust issues, you reach a state within yourself where you start to get clarity of what feels right. It's not about having a prescription of what you're looking for. It's really about recognizing in the moment and being present in the moment to, this resonates. This feels right to me on a deeper level. It's actually more about listening to your intuition rather than writing a list of the things that you want. Anyone can write a list and we can sit on it and we can try and manifest it. But the risk in that is that something you want might enter your life and you'll miss it, because you've got this big tick box of list of the things that you want, and what you really need might be right there.
And in the action of wanting something, you could be even pushing it away, right?
100%. You know what? In my life's work here, the thing that I see that's the challenge for most people is actually opening your heart to receive. We spend so much time thinking about what we don't want, complaining about what's happening, that often when you do meet someone that's right for you, we can really sabotage it because we're not able to sit in the vulnerability. Because actually when someone really cares about you and wants to be with you or give to you, whether it be a parent, a child, or a partner, we're so used to not having our needs met that we don't even know how to deal with it when they are being met. And we can then create sabotage around that and push it away. So the work that we do really is once a lot of the resolution has occurred, it's really more about teaching the person to receive not only love, to receive money, to receive abundance. You can sit there and manifest and talk about it all you want, but are you, if it's right in front of you, going to be able to receive it? There's a very important question you can ask yourself. You can say to yourself, someone said it to me the other day, would you accept a miracle in your life if it happened to you? Are you, feel into your body, am I open to receiving something for nothing? And if you get a no in your chest, oh, no, I'm scared of that, I don't think I deserve something for nothing, you've got work to do. Because how can it come if deep down you don't feel worthy of it?
That's so true. And, we've just touched on sort of new relationships as well, but for existing long-term relationships where maybe the spark is gone, or, that real depth to the relationship or time with each other and is sort of minimal, we need to look at those as well and go, okay, how can I allow more love to come in? How can I open up those gates again that I've maybe closed over years, slowly, and put barriers up in this relationship that's been going on for a long time? How can we open them up and again attract what you want within the same relationship?
Yeah, look, I think that happens in a lot of marriages. I think it's really, really common. I've worked with a lot of women on this issue. And I think one of the things that happens is people sort of become unconscious. You sort of get stuck in your everyday life, looking after the children, pushing your career, and you sort of, I suppose, you lose touch and you start to become disconnected. And I think that one of the reasons that happens is you've also lost connection with yourself, and you're starting to find it difficult to become present in the moment because there's just so much doing. We're all so busy, So I think when you decide that you want to take on something like that and you want to get help, you want to see a practitioner because it's really about investing in yourself, then what we work with you in is, do you feel trapped? Are you not feeling safe? Are you scared to let this become deeper? Are you scared to leave even though your heart wants you to? It's really about starting to have real conversations with yourself, conversations that you may never have had before, answering questions that you may never have been asked before. It can often come down to, how valuable do you really feel inside? And how connected do you feel to this person? How connected do you feel to yourself? And if those numbers are low, then there's some work to do to bring yourself back into your own life, back into living again, back into feeling again. Has your sense of purpose reduced? Has your sense of passion reduced in your life? Where are you putting your energy? And again, it sounds repetitive, but I really think the power of healing and allowing those emotions to come up and taking the time to deeply explore what's going on can enrich you. I did have someone say to me recently who is emotionally quite unavailable, and they said they're really okay with it, like being emotionally unavailable. They don't really feel ready, and I don't think they really understood the cost. And I said, you know what, that's fine. If you're happy being like that because you feel safe and you don't really want to open your heart, live that way if you like. But what I'm telling you, you are missing out on the richness of life. Deep emotion, deep feelings of love, which you feel once you process pain, are why I'm on earth. It's those moments that you're going to remember for the rest of your life, when you actually feel alive, when you feel deeply connected to what you're doing, to your partner, to your children. And that is what I wish for everyone to have so much more of, is those moments. And you can't have those moments if you push away shame, grief, guilt, fear. The only way to truly experience those beautiful moments is to process and go through the ones you don't want to feel. And then you feel your whole energy shift, and you feel a deeper sense of well-being, happiness, and joy that you haven't felt before. And that then enables you to embrace what you have. And if it's not what you want, go out and actually allow it to come in. It's not about finding the right person. It's about allowing yourself to heal so that they can actually come and you'll receive them.
We're here for the human experience, right? We're here to feel all these emotions and, positive and negative. And we wouldn't know the positive if we didn't know what the negative was. So it's definitely, ringing true, everything you're saying. On your channel, Clarity with Claire, I love the name, by the way, you also mentioned something about how positive affirmations do not work.
Yes.
Again, another potentially controversial topic, because so many people love their positive affirmations. I'm a big fan of Louise Hay and her work, and all of that. I've got positive affirmations up a lot around my house. So I did click on that. I want to know your take on why positive affirmations do not work, Claire Besley.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite subjects. And we actually teach it in our practitioner training. I think it's so interesting, and don't worry, I love Louise Hay, and she paved the way. There was a time when that was what we knew and positive affirmations was the way to go. But because of what I've learned through self-directed healing and doing this process with so many people, is positive affirmations tend to mask the pain that's really sitting underneath. So if, for example, if you've got a deep belief that, for example, you've had an experience with your parents, with your upbringing, maybe your parents split up when you were young, and maybe it's always affected you, and maybe you've had some little guilt that you did something when you were a kid and it was your fault. And maybe every day you're telling yourself, I'm a good person, I'm a beautiful person, and you're giving yourself all these positive affirmations and you're putting them all on your mirror and you're mantraing them out and you're saying them over and over. That little girl inside you still thinks it's her fault. There's no amount of positive reinforcement that's going to clear that guilt out of your stomach or your heart, because it's physical. Those emotions live in your body. You can't mentally reframe something and have a physical release. So the reason that I say they don't work is because if you actually sat there and just went into that pain and said, it is all my fault, and felt it and went right through it, it would start to leave your body. It would move at the top of your head, and then suddenly you would have a whole of body knowing that it wasn't. And you can do that in about 15 minutes. Instead of having something on your mirror and saying it every day, you can actually then embody it. So what we do is we get the person to say the negative belief. We go and we find all the pain. We get them to process it. And I never ask them to say the positive belief. At the end, I'll ask them, can you say it's all my fault again? And they'll say it. And I can hear it is gone. They do not feel it anymore. They don't need that yellow sticky on the mirror because they know. And so you're starting to shift at a much deeper level. So I feel like actually my marketing manager is determined for me to create a set of cards that are all negative beliefs. It's all my fault. I'm not good enough. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve love. Because if we actually had the courage to face those fears, because we really do believe it deep down, we would shift everything so quickly that we just become positive. It's a natural consequence of releasing that pain. So when you're doing a positive affirmation, it's almost like, say you're full with all this guilt and grief that you're not good enough, and just imagine a jar that's full, and you just put this little piece of paper on the top saying I am. What impact is that going to have? Whereas if you
Mm.
go in, you put some water in there, you cry it out, you let the jar empty, there's no question mark anymore.
Yeah. I think maybe, for the big things, you can be exactly spot on, right? Those big things that need more healing and more work and sort of that guidance and support and all of that you offer within those healing modalities. But I can use them for potentially today is a good day. Today is a good day. The Abraham Hicks, affirmation.
Absolutely.
You wake
Look,
up and you're feeling crappy, and you've woken up out of bed and you've bumped your knee, or you shift that mindset by using positive affirmations, maybe for the small things that sort of can just get your day going in the right direction, for example.
we'll cling to it.
Oh, she's not letting me cling to it.
Look, my response to that, and I feel you, and I'm not like completely OCD about this, but a lot of the little things are actually a consequence of the deeper things. And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about trauma. I'm not saying that everyone that comes and sees us has these huge, deep traumas in their life. It can be the smallest thing, but they're always like, it's like a symptom of something deeper that's going on. So, is there a belief there that you have to have bad days? Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm saying go ahead and do that, but as long as you're being real with yourself,
Mm.
because if you're having to do that too many days in a row, then there is something else going on.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Really
So
good point.
I think, if you're a reasonably emotionally healed person, then that's going to work for you. But I think for the audience, most of us, 99% of us, aren't that healed yet, haven't done a lot of our processing. So I think, I'm quite comfortable to reintroduce positive affirmations once you've done the work and you're emotionally stable and balanced. But if you're using it as a crutch to try and pull yourself out of something, that's when I think it's actually the total opposite of what you need to be doing. And I just want to bring a lot of light and awareness to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point that you raised. So tell us about Inspirited Solutions now. What are you working on within your business, and how are you helping to grow this wider and wider and scale what you're doing?
Yeah, look, thank you. I mean, look, it's been a long 10-year journey, and I think it's very exciting times. So, like I said, I think we've trained over 450 practitioners. We now have them in several countries. We now have self-directed healing. It's done in over 8 languages, which is really cool. We're currently exploring the Middle East. So, we're getting a lot of interest out of Libya, Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Cairo. It's starting to get a bit of traction there. We're currently looking for Arabic speaking practitioners and trainers, so we can actually start to train in different languages as well. So that's becoming really exciting. I think, the thought of being able to help on a really big scale is for me, a life's dream to be able to do that. The other thing that we're doing now, obviously we're running our training monthly, and we're training as many practitioners as we can so that they can get out there and provide as much healing to others as they can. The other thing that's quite exciting that we're just about to do is launch the Self-Directed Healing Association of Australia. So this is another dream of mine, now it's a not-for-profit. So I've always said that I want self-directed healing to be available to anyone, anywhere, anytime. So in order for us to do that, that means we need to be able to go in and help communities. So we're going to work with Indigenous people. We're going to work with women who've suffered through domestic violence, homelessness, a whole lot of areas of community that we want to be able to go out there and assist. And obviously we'll also be getting some corporate sponsorship and that sort of thing to help fund that. So that's a new endeavor that I'm extremely passionate and excited about. Yeah, and I guess, really just creating a lot more awareness now, doing a lot more public speaking, and I love doing the big live healings and group healings. So really the goal for us as we are going through a growth phase is to really create more awareness and let people know how much you really can heal, because there are so many modalities out there. It's really hard to decide, who do I choose, where do I go, what do I do, when there's so many options. So I think the fact that we've just been approved by the International Institute of Complementary Therapies, we're now able to be a training provider for this process in 35 countries. So I think the exciting thing is maybe my dream's going to come true of really being able to make this a global thing and just help as many people heal as possible. And not only for them, but for their children, for the future generations. I want to see it being taught in schools. I want little kids being taught how to process emotion so that they don't end up in our chair in 20 years' time, not having had a life of anxiety and being heavily medicated because they don't know how to cope with life. So, you know, that's kind of where we're going in the future, is looking at getting it into the education system. But for now, it's really just creating as much awareness as possible.
Big goals and dreams. I love it. I mean, you know, when you start off as a healer or a practitioner or a therapist or a counselor, anyone who's trying to help people, you start off, you know, with that one-on-one situation, and you've got that client sitting in front of you. And I suppose COVID for you has been pretty magical, because you've gone from then going, let's do a round table training with 10 people, to an online training to 100 people in 10 different countries, and expanding and expanding. So the impact that you're making is just growing so organically and globally. And, you know, I don't think there's much stopping you, Claire, is there?
I hope not. You know, look, I think, look, I do have big dreams, but I also do feel that people are ready to be happy. You know, I think a lot of us have actually suffered a lot and been through a lot. And I think people are asking, is there more? Is this really what my life has to be? I think people are really starting to want to achieve that, not inner peace, you know, but just that feeling of being able to actually enjoy your life and cope with the things that come and move through them with a greater sense of ease. And so I feel really passionate about bringing that, and especially bringing that through relationships, because as I said, that's where you can grow and heal the most. So like, let's start to learn and heal rather than, you know, hide, run, cut off, ghost. You know, we need a new culture. We need to change the conversation about how beautiful our lives really can be.
Conscious conversation. Stop ghosting people.
Yes.
Stop ghosting people. I love that. Or, well, I usually ask people, you know, in their lifetime, what was something that they heard that they couldn't unhear? And I think, asked you that before in a previous episode. But is there something that you've heard recently that's really stuck with you, or something that you've read, a book or a podcast that you've listened to, or some message that's come across your path that stopped you in your tracks that you could share with us today?
Look, I think something that affects me that I really think about is we're not broken and we don't need fixing. We're not here to fix ourselves. We're really here to uncover who we really are. You know, so if you're walking through life and you're thinking about what's wrong with you all the time and you're down on yourself, I think if you can just take into your heart and have a deep understanding that you came into this world pure and beautiful and innocent, and really what you're here to do is live your life experiencing that. That's who you really are. So I think it's just about letting all the layers fall away and discover your true essence, your true being. So for me, I think that's what I think about. That's what I listen to myself say on a daily basis. You know, it's like, let me just grow and become the best version of me that I can. I don't know if that's very profound, but that's definitely something that's sort of in my energy and that I'm focusing on at the moment.
Yeah, it totally is profound. And, you know, a lot of what you say just really, it cuts through. It's striking, and it's to the point. And I think it's something that people just need to hear. We feel, I feel supported when I hear what you say. I feel seen, I feel heard. And, you know, I think that's generally a starting point for so many people on their healing journey, to just find that point where someone really understands how they are feeling, and they will be there to support that. So thank you so much for your time today. You know, it's invaluable listening to you. If people want to hear more from you, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but on YouTube, you've got a new channel called Clarity with Claire, your website, Inspirited Solutions. Anywhere else we can find you?
Yeah, so you can go to selfdirectedhealing.com.au, or there's inspiritedhealing.com, which is our American site. You can have a look at either of those. And we also do have a new Facebook group where if people are interested, they can go and join. It's a private group, but you get to, like, you know, we do live healing on there. So you can actually see healing done. If you're a little bit afraid of having one and you want to see it first, we're now actually starting to let people see what it looks like. So if you're a little bit scared and you want to know more, it's called the Self-Directed Healing official Facebook group. You can jump in there, and we do lives every so often, so you can actually see it for yourself.
Yeah, great. I'll put that into the show notes as well, so that people can access it really easily. So it's not only people who want to have this healing, it's also for people who want to learn how to do this healing. So it's pretty special. It's a pretty great environment for you to be in if you know that is on your path and you'd like to explore it more.
Cool.
Thank you so very much for your time again today, Claire. And we can't wait to see you again on the podcast sometime soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your work.
Thanks for listening to the show. What did you think? And what did you feel? Let us know by leaving me a message on the Things You Can't Unhear Instagram community page. And if you can, give us some ratings love on your favorite listening platform.